Hi everyone, we're going to go ahead and get started in a minute, in 2 minutes. This starts at 3. It starts at 3 every week, so we'll start then. Happy to see you all. All right, and it is 3 p.m. Welcome to Coding Club, everybody. So for those of you who saw the email, today we're going to be doing a virtual card. We're going to be making cards with code. Can everyone hear me? Let me know in the chat if you can hear me, no problem. If everything is going okay. I, as always, am excited to be coding along with everyone today. We're actually not going to be doing a tutorial today. We're just going to be sort of in the open coding sandbox. Let me double check to make sure that the link that I sent to everyone is working no problem. How's everyone's day going? How's everyone's week so far? I know school is sort of back in session a little bit for some of you. There we go. Cool, it's totally working. I don't know why it sometimes takes a minute. Cool, well, welcome. For everyone who just showed up, please join me at the link that I just posted in the chat. I'll post it in here too. It's vidcode.com, vidcode.com/project/sandbox. I always like doing Coding Club just in the open coding sandbox. I think it's a bit more fun. We're able to be more open-ended. I'm able to kind of incorporate the things that you all want to do sort of live. So if you do have an idea for something that you want to incorporate in your card, as I'm going through this, post it in the chat. Let me know what you want to do. If you want something to move, if you want something to be kind of randomized, if you're looking for a font and you can't find it, post it in the chat. Let me know. Because I'm able to sort of respond to you guys in the moment and show you different ways to make things and code the things that you want to code. So with that, I guess the first thing that we have to do is decide what kind of card we're making today. We know it's going to be a virtual card. We know we want it to be something that we can send to people. What kind of card? We could make something that's like a bit musical. Or it's always fun actually for me to do a happy birthday card. So let's do that. I'm going to make a happy birthday card. You can make a sort of card that you want to make if it's maybe like a holiday or I don't even know what other people make cards for, which is why I'm going with birthday. So let's go ahead and start with a birthday card. I really do better with prompts. So if you guys have any ideas, but the very first thing I'm going to do is set the color of my background, just because That's like often the first step when making a card, choosing our construction papers. I feel like the code equivalent of that is setting the background. So I can actually use this little bit of code called movie.color to do that. I'll post that in the chat as well. And with that code, I'm able to change the color of my project, make it anything that I want. And once I have that in here, I can click this open and customize it. And there we go. So what are the different elements of a card? Well, we definitely need graphics. We definitely need text. It needs to say happy birthday. Maybe I can make this sort of a generative card. So every time you refresh, it's like happy birthday, different name. I could do something like that. I also maybe want, we'll just start with that. Like emojis, I probably want like emojis. And then I want a border around my card. So this is always good to do, to sort of break your project up into steps before you even get started. So I'm going to start with my border, just because I think that that will maybe change the position of my other things. It'll maybe change the position of my text, change the position of my emojis. So to start with a border, I'm actually just going to use a rectangle for this. I'm going to create this rectangle, or I'm going to use, so there's two options here. So I could make one rectangle and put it on the whole card, or I could use 4 to actually draw a base around it. I think I'm going to do the first one. So if you're following along, as always, you don't have to make your card look exactly like mine. And I'll show them all at the end. So make sure you're also coding in the sandbox so I can look up your project and show it to everyone after. So here I'm going to drag in rectangle. I'm going to move it so it's right under my border comment here. These comments might look a little bit weird. Comments are just notes in your code. They're things for you to be able to read and like know what to expect. Like I'm using them as just an organizing tool here to kind of plan out what I'm going to do with this card before I do it. But they're basically just things in your code that are only there for you to read or for other people to read. Your computer will just ignore them. So my rectangle, if I click into this, there's 4 different things that are getting passed in here. The first is the X position, then the Y position, then the width and the height. So the X position is at 0, which is left and right, and the Y position is at 0, which is up and down, which is why it's in the corner here. I want to move it down a little bit because this is kind of what's going to create my border. So I'm going to go and put like 30. See how that looks. I want it a little bit bigger. I'll do like 60, 60, and then there's a couple ways I could do this. I'm just going to hard code it right now. It looks like my whole project is about 640 pixels across. Okay, awesome. So what I'm doing here is just using this rectangle as like the new base of my card. So the actual color behind it then becomes my border. I think this border is too wide. I'm going to make it 40 pixels instead. Cool. That looks pretty good. So the next thing that I want to do is actually change the color of this rectangle. It looks kind of ugly, just black like that. Looks like a void in the middle of my card. So I can do that by using this thing called a variable here. So I'm basically holding my rectangle in this thing called a variable. You can think of them like containers. They can hold things. In this case, it's just holding a rectangle. And it can also change things. So because I have this my rect variable, and I can call it anything. I'm just calling it, in this case, my underscore rect. And because I have that variable, I can then go ahead and change this rectangle later on in my code. So I could do things like on another line, like my underscore rect.color equals, I always just do red because then I can use the pop-up. I'm going to make it kind of white. It looks like it has a border on it as well. For those of you who just joined Recoding Virtual Cards today, welcome. You can join us in the sandbox. I don't know, I have no idea if you can see like past histories, if I just keep posting the sandbox, that's why. So the other thing I want to do is get rid of the border here. So I'm going to go ahead and just check the reference on the left. And it looks like myrect.borderWidth will let me edit the border. I can see that right here. So I'm going to write that here, my underscore rect, which is the name of my variable, dot border width equals 0. There we go. So I think that looks pretty good. I actually think I might leave like a bit of a border. I'll have like this like double border thing going on. But I want it to be a better color than that. So I'm going to say my rect dot border color. Then I'll make it like navy or something. So now I have this nice like double color effect. Okay, cool. That looks nice. So that's my border. Feeling good about that. I feel like the next thing to do is add the text here. So when people do join this video, they know what we're doing. We're making a happy birthday card. So I'm going to go ahead and drag in. I'm going to go back to my effects on the left and find text. Just going to drag in text. There we go. It's behind my rectangle. That's because my code is getting run in order, the same way you would read a book. So my computer is like reading that I put text on a page and then I put this rectangle on a page. To get my text to appear in front of it, I just have to copy all this code and move it above my text. Cool. So I don't want it to say hello. I want it to say happy birthday. Just like with the rectangle code, you're going to be able to use this variable name. I'm going to delete the 1 and just have my underscore text. And you're going to be able to use that to change the font, to change the color, to change all this different information about your text object. So here I'm going to go ahead and write my underscore text. The first thing I'm going to do is change the color, just because it's kind of not super visible here. So I think I'm going to make it like a purple. Yeah, that looks good. The other thing I'm going to do is change the size. I want it to be a lot bigger. So I'm going to use the property of size. And then I'm going to use the X and Y properties to move it to the left and to the right. So I'm writing my text.size and my text.x and y. You might not. You might be writing my text 1. It all depends on whatever is like after your variable here. So mine is my underscore text. I deleted the 1, and that's what I'm using to set all the properties here. If you didn't delete the 1, then you're probably writing my text 1, or if you set that to something else, if you said it's like birthday message, that is the word that you're going to be using to edit all of these properties here. Does that make sense to everyone? So the next thing I'm going to do is move it down. So I'm going to want to use the Y position. It doesn't quite fit. There we go. And I'm going to change the font as well. I believe there's a font category just called scripts. Doesn't look great. I think there's one called like romantic. I just want like a bit of an italic. feeling font. Let's see here. I'm going to pull up web fonts here just to see what we're dealing with. Let's open the Wikipedia entry for web fonts. So we don't want to use the Systems UI. Here we go. We have cursive. That's what it is. So in the Wikipedia, I just looked up web fonts Wikipedia, and it looks like we have like sans serif, serif, monospace, cursive, which is what I was looking for, and then fantasy. So let's try that. Let's see what it looks like. I'm actually curious what fantasy looks like. Fantasy. Looks like nothing. Oh, there we go. Alright, it wasn't supposed to be uppercase. Cursive. Great. Let's leave it. Let's leave that. It's just going to be cursive. So let's go ahead and move it down a little bit more. Move it to the right a little bit more. Okay, cool. I think this looks good. Let's see what we have as far as graphics. What should we add? This is cute, like a little sunflower. I'm gonna do that. So I'm gonna go ahead, I went into graphics here on the right. I'm just gonna drag the sunflower in. It's huge, it's way too big. So in text here, we use the dot size property to change the size of our text. We don't use that for graphics. For graphics, we actually use dot scale. So same thing as before. I'm able to edit this because once again, I'm saving this sunflower graphic, this object, in something called a variable. This one's called my_graphic1. I'm actually just going to change it to sunflower. You can do that as well. I'm just going to call it flower. Keep it all in one line. So now whenever I edit that graphic moving forward, I'm going to be using the word flower, not my_graphic1. So if you see me write flower and you're editing your graphic, you're going to want to use whatever name you set for your variable instead. So here we have flower.scale. By default, the scale is 1. So if I put it to 2, it would double the size. I actually quite like that. If I put it at like 0.3, it would be a lot smaller. I kind of like it like really big like that. I think I might do that, like 2.3. I wasn't going to initially, but I kind of quite like it. I'm going to move it down a little bit so it's not like right on top of my text like that. Cool, and then I'm going to make the scale a bit smaller so that it like fits on my page still. And then I'm going to change the rotation. I kind of want it to be like a bit sideways. So I'm going to write flower.rotation equals, let's try 90 degrees. Negative 90 degrees. That's kind of what I want. Cool. And then let's go ahead and change the X position to move it over a bit. So I'm just messing around with it, customizing it. You should do the same with your graphics. Play around with them, make them into something that looks good for you and that you think fits the theme that you're setting. I don't even know what the theme of mine is here. Just like generic happy birthday. So then the next thing I'm going to want here is emojis. I'm actually going to have them just appear randomly all over the screen, just because I am too lazy to put them all individually, and I don't have to because I can write a program to do that. Luke's, do you want to go ahead and post your code in, and I can bring it into my text and see what's going on? Bring it into my code and see what's going on is what I meant to say there. Okay, cool. So let's have a bunch of emojis up here. So to do this, I'm going to use a loop. And for those of you who've been here a few weeks, you've seen me use repeat loops. We're not doing that today. Today we are instead going to be using like a for loop or a while loop. And that's because I don't want my emojis to animate. I just want them to be placed around the screen without me having to do it as a person. Yeah, so here is, someone asked for my code. I don't think it'll let me all post it, but I'll post some of it at a time. Oops. There you go. Okay, I am posting Luke's code in my code now. The first thing I'm going to do is comment all of this out. And then I'm just going to post Luke's code in the top. So it looks like, this looks good to me. I don't see any bugs off the bat. Oh, yeah, it's totally here. Luke's, what might be happening, because when it was purple, it's kind of like blending into my background. But if I like change the movie color, it would stand out more. Oh no, what's happening? Oh, there we go. Yeah, so Luke's, what might be happening is that your code just wasn't, or your text just wasn't showing up like on the purple background. But if you change the color, it might work no problem. So let me know if that works. So let's add our emojis. So let's see. So it's sort of up to us if we want to do a for loop or a while loop. A for loop will count up to a certain number. Okay, Luke. So to do that, you want to have the rectangle in your code before your text. So I can show you here. So if I moved my text up here above my rectangle, I won't be able to see it anymore because my rectangle will be covering it. Same with my graphic. If I move my graphic like before my rectangle, it'll also be covering it. See, so I can only see it like behind here. So basically you need your code to be in the order that you want it to be displayed. You can think of it like layers, like if you used Photoshop or something. So I need the layer of my rectangle in my code before my text and my graphic. Does that make sense? So I'm going to add like a bunch of spaces here just to reset, just because I want everything that I'm doing now to fit on the screen. We're about to get into slightly more complicated code. So I'm actually going to choose a for loop, but we could, just so you know, use a while loop here as well. The for loop can be confusing when you first see it, just because the way it's set up is just a bit strange. But basically what's happening here, oh yay, Luke's, I'm glad. So basically what's happening here is I'm setting a variable that I'm just calling I, which stands for index, which is not something you have to worry about yet, to 0. And then I'm saying until I hits 5, every time this loops, increment I by 1. So all that's happening here, all that's happening in this code is I is getting set to 0, it's counting to 5, and then it's stopping. So if, for example, I logged my I variable here, I could see it happening here. So it starts at 0 and then goes to 1, 2, 3, 4. It runs again, it checks, am I less than 5? I'm not anymore. because I is now 5, and then it stops running. So if that doesn't make a lot of sense to you, don't worry about it. It'll kind of make more sense as we use this. You're going to be seeing for loops a lot as you code and as you especially code with JavaScript. So basically what I'm going to do here is I kind of just want a bunch of emojis to randomly appear on the screen. So I'll change this to 12. And then I'm going to go ahead and set, I'm just going to do this the most straightforward way possible at first. So I'm going to go ahead and drag in my emoji button. And so I'm going to have var emoji equals text. I'm not sure that this is going to work. I think I might have to make an array. But first, I'm going to set a random x and y position. There is actually a math.random object in JavaScript, and it is here for you in the sandbox. So go ahead and scroll down to math, and then you can actually just drag in math.random into your for loop. And let's set a couple of variables here. The first is going to be rand x, and then the next is going to be rand y. So now these two different random numbers are getting set every single time this for loop goes. So I'm just going to go ahead and set my emoji to be equal to the random x number and the random y number. And it worked. So that's pretty cool, right? I could have gone through and like placed all of these emojis perfectly all over my card. Or I could just write these 5 lines of code. And here they are in the chat, that will set my emojis anywhere. This isn't the best code. I probably wouldn't do it this way all the time. Like I don't want to be setting these same variables over and over again, but for now, this is totally fine. And this is what we can use. I don't want it to be the smiley face. I want it to be a birthday cake. It's a birthday card. And then I actually don't want it to be over this happy birthday part. I want it to be under this. So I'm going to go ahead and add like 170 to my random.y. So what that's doing, let me like talk through this code really quick. So basically, math.random is giving me a random number between 0 and 1. That's what it does. The math object isn't a vidcode thing, it's a JavaScript thing. No, Luke's. The emojis aren't necessary. Risha, the cursive font only worked for me if it was lowercase. If it's uppercase, it didn't work. So that might be what's happening on your code as well. No, yeah, you don't need emojis, Luke. You can customize your project any way that you like or that like looks good for you. So here, math.random is giving me a number between 0 and 1. That's not that helpful. Basically, if I just had that, all of my cakes would be in the same place with like a few pixels of like change. Like if I get close to it, you can kind of see it. Like it's not really moving at all. It kind of is. So I need to multiply this number by whatever I want to create this like random number generator in to make it useful to me. So if I multiply this by 500, instead of being a 0 to 1 number generator, it's now a 0 to 500 number generator, which is much more useful to me in this situation. So when I go ahead and add 150 to it, now I'm taking that random number that it's giving to me between 0 and 500 and adding 150 to it. So now it's a random number generator between 150 and 650. Risha, I'm not sure. You could try like other fonts. You could try Fantasy. You could try, I don't know. Just like any fonts that are saved on your computer, you could try monospace. Just to see sort of what looks good for you. The other option is to post your code in the chat so I can kind of check it out and see why it might not be working. I actually don't like this cake on my sunflower. I'm like not really feeling it. Maybe I'll do balloons. Is there not a balloon emoji? Oh, there totally is. Cool. And then I want this to be bigger, so I'm gonna say emoji.size equals 100. Now I'm gonna have huge balloons. Awesome. All right, I like this. Let's see, so what else can we do here? I definitely like this. I think the last thing I'm gonna do is make it like an interactive card so someone can put like their name in if they want to, which is kind of silly. But I'm just gonna drag in text input here. It gets saved as, oh, here we go. I'm looking at Risha's code now. Commenting out my code. Pasting in Risha's. Okay, so it's working on mine. You might not have a cursive font on your local computer. We really need to add more fonts to our library. So I would say, like, if you know fonts that you have on your computer, use those instead. And yeah, it's definitely something that like we can work on, offering you all more font options. One that we have on our side is Oswald. So if you type in like my_font.oswald, that'll work on everyone's computer. Cool. So the first thing I'm going to do is make my input white instead. My input.color equals white. Nice. Now I can go in and write Leandra, and it'll say, happy birthday, Leandra. One thing, so there's a couple ways to do this. We don't have a lot of time left. Yeah, so Risha, it's going to be based on what you have locally on your computer. I think we can do this. So I'm just going to go ahead and add like another text under this that's going to like update when someone puts someone's name in. So I'm just going to drag in text here. And instead of hello, I'm going to have it say my_input.message. Okay, it needs like a time where it happens. I'm going to repeat it. Okay, cool. So if you all want to do this too, it's up to you. It's just like another thing to add to your card. But basically, I put this repeat function here. It's always checking to see if anything's new, if anything's updated. It's a different kind of loop than my for loop. My for loop is still only running once. It's running as many times as I ask it to place those balloons. But here, in this case, I'm actually just checking over time forever. And I'm just going to go ahead and check whenever this has been updated, and then update my message. So I'm actually going to put my name in just like regular here at first. My name's Leandra, for those of you who don't know. just so I can place it. I want it obviously under my happy birthday message, so I'm going to change the variable name to name first of all, and then go ahead and do name.color. I'm just going to make it purple, and then name.x. I'm going to move it over, move it down. And then also just make it bigger. Okay, cool. So then instead of Leandra here, I'm just going to say my input.message. And what that is doing is checking this like text input box that's up here, and just updating this word with whatever is in here. So now if I put my name in, it'll update. And if I have like my friend come over and my friend's name is Kamal and he puts his name in, it'll update with his name. I have a bug that some of you just saw where if I put in multiple names, it'll just load them all. That's because this variable is getting created again and again and again. To fix that, I can go ahead and copy where I create this variable out here. So I'm just like going to make it empty. And then I'm going to say name.message equals my input. Oops. My input.message. It doesn't like something. I think name might not be a word that I can use. So instead, I'm going to say birthday name. There are some variables that you're not allowed to use because of like JavaScript. They're just like reserved words. So I think name might be in that. Yeah, this is the code for the name stuff. So this is the code that's creating just like my input. Let me make sure this works before I share it with you all. Yay, it does, and it fixes that bug. Okay, cool. And so then this is where I'm like setting the variable. It's going to hold the birthday name. And then this is the repeat function that is actually checking and updating the name. So cool. I'm feeling good about this. I think that this is going to be it for me here. I think one thing I'm going to do is actually just add instructions in the input. So I'm going to say b-day name here, so that people know to fill it out. Oh, sorry, oh, I can't put a colon. Cool. Yeah, feeling good about this. So I'm going to go ahead and submit this, call it happy birthday. And here we go. Now I have this awesome card that I can send to someone or just pull up when they come over for their birthday. Maybe like it's your mom's birthday. It's good. It's a multi-purpose card. Here's the link in case anyone wants to edit it, remix it, use it for your own. And go ahead and publish your projects, and I can pull them up and share them with everyone as well. Now I'm only going to see them if you made them in the sandbox. So if you made them anywhere else, I'm not going to be able to see them, unfortunately. It looks like Wayne made a card, which is really beautiful. Let me show everyone that. So this is Wayne's card, everyone. It is Merry Christmas themed, which is fantastic. I really like all the Santas and the snowflakes. I think it's like very cheerful. I really like what you did here with the border. Let's see what happens if I put my name in. Okay, cool. So you didn't hook this up, which is totally fine. I could write someone a message here anyway, though. I could say, have a holly jolly Merry Christmas. And now I've like been able to kind of customize this card. So thank you, Wayne. This is amazing. The name thing isn't working for me. Post your code. I can help you debug it. Yeah, we have some extra time, guys. We have like 6 minutes left. Let's see if we have anyone else's projects. Oh, Luke, that's okay. Only post the parts relevant to the name. Otherwise, it's going to be too much code, I think. Okay, perfect. So for those of you watching, I'm pulling up Luke's code just to help them debug and see what's going on here. So Luke, are you getting the, oh, I need to put my input in. Okay, are you getting the same error that I am, where my input is not defined? Do you see that same error? Okay, got it. So whenever you see that error, it's basically telling you that you're using something that isn't, you're not telling the code what it is. So in the case of this, you're missing the actual my input. So if you go down to, where is it? Here we go, text and text input. So it's right here, it's this blue button, and drag that in. It's going to set my input to have a text input, to be a text input. The other thing to change here, first you're going to want to make it white, just because otherwise it's black and you can't read it. And then the other thing that's going to happen here is you have a birthday name is not defined. So for that, I would just drag in text above your repeat function and just call it birthday name. And then that should work. It's not working here. Oh, okay, it's just getting set to purple again. Okay. Okay, cool. So yeah, so this should work. So basically all I added was like setting birthday name and setting my input. And that should do it. That should be enough to make it work. Okay, cool. So it doesn't look like anyone else is going to be submitting a project today, which is too bad. But thank you all for coming. I hope you all had fun. I hope you can use your digital cards. You need to make sure, Luke, that you have this. Yeah, so basically, if it says something is not defined, it means that you're not defining it. So when you define something, you're saying var word, like whatever word you're asking for, and then you're setting it to something. Risha, you change the flower size with dot scale. So like if I dragged in this flower, I could change it, so my graphic one, and then dot scale. And that's what I would use to edit the size. Cool. Well, thanks everyone for coming today. I hope you enjoyed today's coding club. And if you have any ideas about what you want to make next week, let me know. Bye everyone.